I told you to stay where you are. You think you could talk back to me?
Officer, I've done everything you asked. You're profiling me for no reason.
Profiling you? You think you're special or something?
No, officer, but I am the district attorney of Fulton County, and I suggest you calm down.
Before we get started, tell me where you're watching from, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story, because what you're about to hear will get your heart racing. It's a bright afternoon in downtown Atlanta. The traffic is crawling, horns are echoing through the streets, and on the corner of Pine and Westbrook, a routine stop is about to become something that shakes the entire police department. The story you're about to hear comes from an officer's body cam, and by the time we reach the end, you'll understand why people are still talking about it. Jerome Blake wasn't the kind of man who liked attention. At 38, he had mastered the art of staying quiet, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. He knew that in a world where perception often mattered more than truth, calmness was its own kind of power. That Tuesday, Jerome was driving home in his silver Ford Explorer, wearing a gray hoodie, dark jeans, and worn-out sneakers. He'd just finished a peaceful lunch with his teenage son, Marcus, and was now heading to his next meeting downtown. To anyone passing by, he looked like an ordinary man enjoying a normal afternoon, not the district attorney of Fulton County, the same man who had recently ordered a deep investigation into police misconduct cases across the city. A few blocks away, Officer Bradley Keene sat slouched in his patrol car, bored, frustrated, and bitter. He was a tall, broad man with a temper that could spark easily. His dashboard was piled with empty coffee cups and old tickets. When Jerome's SUV passed by, Keene squinted. A black man, an expensive car, in the wrong neighborhood. And that's when everything began. To Officer Keene, that was all the probable cause he needed. With a flick of a switch, his patrol car lights came alive. Jerome noticed the red and blue flash in his rearview mirror. Without hesitation, he pulled over calmly, rolled down his window, and rested both hands on the steering wheel. "Good afternoon, officer," he said, politely. But Keene wasn't in the mood for manners. He walked up with the swagger of a man who thought authority made him untouchable. "License and registration," he barked. "Step out of the vehicle." Jerome's brow creased slightly. "Is there a reason for the stop?" Keene leaned closer, eyes narrowing like a predator sizing up its prey. "You fit the description," he said. "We got a report about a stolen SUV that looks just like this one." Jerome blinked slowly. "A stolen car." "That's right," Keene replied sharply. "Until I confirm who you are, keep your hands where I can see them." For a few tense seconds, silence filled the air, just long enough for a small red light to start blinking on Keene's chest. His body cam had just switched on. Inside Jerome's car, his phone buzzed. A text lit up on the screen: "Meeting in 20 minutes with the mayor. Don't be late." Jerome let out a quiet chuckle, shaking his head. Under his breath, he muttered, "You really have no idea who you're talking to, do you?" "What was that?" Keene snapped. "Nothing," Jerome said evenly, handing over his license. Keene barely glanced at it before tossing it toward his partner. "Run it," he ordered impatiently. His partner, Officer Mills, caught the card, looked down, and his eyes widened. Brad," he said nervously, "you might want to look at this." But Keene didn't listen. He was too busy playing the part of a tough cop, too busy assuming, too busy talking down, and he was seconds away from the biggest embarrassment of his career. The street around them buzzed with traffic. Pedestrians slowed down to watch as Officer Keene stood by Jerome's SUV, puffing out his chest, like a man proving a point. Beside him, Officer Mills shifted uncomfortably, still clutching the license that could change everything. "Brad, I think you should really look at the name on this," Officer Mills said again, his voice low but urgent. Keene didn't even glance his way. "I said run it," he barked. "Don't make me repeat myself." Jerome sat quietly, eyes fixed on the road ahead. A warm afternoon breeze drifted through the open window, but the air between the two men was thick with tension. "So," Jerome said softly, "I'd appreciate it if you could explain why I'm being treated like a suspect." Keene scoffed. "You think you can question me? You're lucky I didn't have you face down on the ground." By now, a small crowd had started to form. People on the sidewalk slowed their steps, phones already raised. A woman whispered to a friend, "He didn't even do anything. That cop's trippin'." Keene turned sharply toward the onlookers. "Mind your business," he shouted, before spinning back toward Jerome. "Out of the car. Now. Hands where I can see them." Jerome let out a long, controlled sigh. He unbuckled his seat belt and stepped out slow and calm. His composure only fueled Keene's frustration. He wanted a reaction, but Jerome gave him nothing. "Hands on the hood," Keene ordered. Jerome did as told. His voice stayed even, steady. "You're making a mistake, officer." "Oh, I am," Keene mocked. "You people always say that." That line hit harder than he realized. Even Mills flinched. "Brad, come on, man," he muttered. But Keene ignored him, puffing up his chest again. Just then, Mills' handheld device buzzed. He glanced down, and the color drained from his face. "Oh no," he whispered. Keene noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" Mills hesitated. "Brad, that man isn't just anyone." Keene frowned. "What are you talking about?" Mills swallowed hard. "His name is Jerome Blake." "Yeah, so?" Keene snapped. Mills looked up, voice barely steady. "He's the district attorney, our boss's boss." Keene blinked, confused, the words sinking in too slowly. "The what?" Before Mills could answer, Jerome turned around, calm, unshaken, and looking Keene straight in the eyes. "Now you know," he said quietly. Keene's face went pale. But by then his body cam was already rolling, and what happened next would soon explode across the internet. The video begins with sunlight glinting off the SUV's hood. Officer Keene stands rigid, one hand hovering near his holster. Across from him, Jerome Blake faces him calmly, hands visible, expression steady. Timestamp, 3:42 p.m. Location, Pine and Westbrook Street, Atlanta. Keene's voice is heard first, sharp, impatient, loud. "Keene, I told you to stay where you are." "Jerome, officer, I haven't resisted. I've done everything you asked." "Keene, then stop talking back." "Jerome, I will not stay silent while being profiled." The camera shakes slightly as Keene steps closer, his voice rising, defensive. "Keene, you think you're special or something." "Jerome." "No, officer. But I'm the district attorney of Fulton County, and I suggest you calm down before you make this worse for yourself." A heavy silence follows. Even the background noise of traffic seems to fade. Then, in a faint whisper, Mills is heard. "Mills, Brad, it's true. He's the DA. His photo just popped up on the screen." Keene stammers, caught off guard. "Keene, wait, what?" Jerome remains unshaken. "Jerome, now, officer, I'll ask once more. Return my license, step back, and turn off your lights." Keene swallows hard. "Keene, I didn't know." "Jerome, you didn't ask. You assumed." Gasps ripple through the crowd. Some people begin to clap. A man's voice cuts through the noise. That's composure right there. Jerome's tone stays calm, but resolute. "Jerome, your words, your tone, all of it is on record, and I'll personally make sure this department remembers what respect looks like." The clip ends with Officer Keene lowering his head in silence as Jerome turns and walks back to his car. Calm, composed, dignified. Within hours, the footage leaks online. Someone from the crowd had recorded part of the exchange and uploaded it, with the caption, "Cop profiles innocent man. Didn't know he was the DA." By that evening, the video had crossed 1 million views, and the entire city of Atlanta was watching. News outlets lit up with headlines. The story was everywhere. The mayor called for an internal investigation, and inside the Atlanta Police Department, tension was thick enough to cut through. At the station, Officer Bradley Keene sat silently at his desk, his badge turned upside down. Mills kept his eyes on the floor. The chief stormed in, slamming a printed report onto the table. "You humiliated this department," he shouted. "The DA called me personally. You're lucky he didn't press charges." Keene muttered. I didn't know who he was." "That's exactly the problem," the chief snapped. "You shouldn't have to know someone's title to treat them with respect." That night, in his quiet office, Jerome Blake reviewed the incident report. The room was still, the only sound coming from the faint hum of the city outside his window. His assistant, Dana, walked in with a soft, uneasy smile. "Social media's calling you the calm dad," she said lightly. Jerome chuckled. "Could be worse." Dana hesitated. "Will you have him fired?" Jerome leaned back, thoughtful. No, but he'll learn the right way. 2 weeks later, Officer Bradley Keene was summoned to a disciplinary hearing, not a quiet, hidden meeting. This one was public and open court, and presiding over it was District Attorney Jerome Blake himself. The courtroom was packed. Reporters filled the aisles. Cameras flashed as Keene walked in, nervous and pale. Jerome stood at the podium, composed as ever. "Today's hearing isn't about revenge," he began, voice steady. "It's about responsibility. Law enforcement carries power, but also duty. And when that duty turns into prejudice, justice must speak louder." Keene lifted his eyes, full of regret. "Sir, I'm sorry. I truly am." Jerome nodded. "I believe you are. But solve isn't enough. Not for the people you humiliated before me, and not for those who didn't have cameras watching." He turned toward the disciplinary board. "Effective immediately. Officer Keene is suspended without pay and must complete a full anti-bias and de-escalation program. His reinstatement will depend on community feedback." The audience didn't cheer, they clapped quietly, out of respect, not celebration. Jerome's voice softened. "Justice isn't about punishment," he said. "It's about change. Let this moment be that change." As Keene left the courtroom, head bowed, he paused and said quietly, "Thank you for not destroying me." Jerome met his eyes. "You destroyed yourself," he replied. "I'm just giving you a chance to rebuild." That night, the courtroom clip went viral again. Thousands of comments poured in. "This is what real justice looks like. Power with humility, that's leadership. Instant karma never looked this professional." Across the nation, one message echoed louder than the rest: respect should never depend on recognition.